So as an individual, what differentiates a sustainable from unsustainable lifestyle? And as a society, what differentiates sustainable from unsustainable developmental models and strategies? Here, there are two key determinants. The first is the extent to which we rely on non-renewable resources as raw materials or energy sources. The renewable, non-renewable characteristic is core to the understanding of sustainability concept. The way we are currently consuming non-renewable resources is unsustainable. Examples of non-renewable resources include fossil fuels such as oil and gas that are widely used as energy sources, or for example metals. Over time, if you continue to dig the ground to extract these resources, they will eventually run out. At the opposite end of the spectrum, we have renewables such as sun, wind, and sea waves. Resources such as these are never used up and so can be used again and again. In between these two extremes, the concept basically weights the pace of human consumption of a resource against the pace by which nature replenishes or renews this same resource. If, for example, people catch and eat fish at a pace that outweighs the fish's ability to reproduce, then over time the fish population shall decline until we reach a point where there are no fish left to catch or eat. Another example is that of people cutting down trees for timber at a faster rate than new trees are being planted or left to grow. Over time, these shall be less and less trees available to sustain such activities that rely on those trees. Both the fish and the tree examples are happening right now because of the way in which we are overusing our natural resources. So that's the first determinant. What's the second? The second is the environmental impact or the footprint any activity leaves behind. The footprint concept is as important as the renewable, non-renewable one. The footprint refers to the amount of pollution that any activity might create. The most significant of these is the release of greenhouse gases, mainly carbon dioxide or CO2, and thus this process is known as the carbon footprint, which mainly results from burning fossil fuels. And because CO2 in the atmosphere traps sun heat, above average levels of CO2 warm the Earth's temperature, causing global warming and climate change. Global warming comes in forms of heat waves and droughts, causing less land fit for growing food, as well as rising sea levels resulting from melting ice, which threatens submerging parts of Earth, while climate change comes in forms of frequent extreme weather conditions, including storms and hurricanes. For the 11,000 years in which humans have existed on Earth, people have appreciated nature for offering them sources of survival and livelihood. Since nature provides life-sustaining amenities, people opted to settle around sources of fresh water to drink and farm, by seasides to fish and trade, around forests to hunt and eat. As a result, people had a strong incentive to preserve their ecosystem as a means of sustaining their sources of livelihood, and therefore the implications of human activities on nature had been trivial and mainly neutral until the late 18th century. Unfortunately, over the past couple of centuries, the continuous exploitation of natural resources, the intensification of large-scale manufacturing that accompanied the industrial revolution of the 19th and 20th century, as well as the endless pursuit of exponential economic growth, have affected the Earth in profound and likely in irreversible way. However, sustainable development was first recognized as a global concept in 1972 during the United Nations Conference in Stockholm. Since that date, the UN has been responsible for coordinating global efforts to address sustainability challenges and promote sustainable development by regularly holding conferences as well as many other means. The UN General Assembly in September 2015 brought all its member nations together, including the UK, to agree upon and sign the Paris Agreement. The UN also produced a set of 17 measurable goals, known as the SDGs, aiming to provide a shared agenda for universal peace and prosperity for people and planet.